to True Crime Radio on the iHeartRadio Network. My name is Tricia Griffith. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a just jam-packed show, so we're going to get right to it. Later in the show, we're welcoming back one of our favorite people and star of the TV show on ID, Dark Minds, John Kelly. He's a criminal profiler, and he is going to take us into that dangerous mind of Oregon shooter Chris Mercer. Later, Web Sleuth Administrator Bessie will be with us to talk about the latest cold case being featured on The Next Step. It's Woodland Jane Doe from Baltimore. She's a 1976 unidentified murder victim. But first, in just a few moments, we're going to go with Sheriff Lynn Bowerman. And Sheriff Bowerman is going to talk about a tragic case that has just grabbed everybody's hearts. Dior Coons Jr., an adorable little toddler. I mean, let's face it, when you see a picture of him, you just want to reach in and hug this little sweetie pie. He is so cute. But now Dior's parents are going through everybody's worst nightmare. Their adorable toddler went missing on July 10th while camping with his parents, great-grandfather, and his great-grandfather's friend. This was at Timber Creek Campground in Idaho. Searchers have combed the area, and they've searched the creek, the reservoir. No sign of this adorable sweetheart of a little boy. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Sheriff Lynn D. Bowerman. And Sheriff Bowerman, thank you for joining us tonight. I know you're busy, and we'll try not to keep you very long, okay?
Well, I'll see what I can answer for you.
Thank you very much. And first of all, the first question is, how do you pronounce your county? Is it Lemhi or?
Yeah, Lemhi.
Lemhi, just exactly like how it's spelled. I just made that way too difficult. Sorry about that. But anyway, Sheriff Bowerman, thank you very, very much. We have one question, one area that we want to clear up, and that is, and I'm hoping you can help us with that tonight, that is when Dior was seen at the store with his parents. Do you know for certain if he was ever actually seen at the store? That just seems real ambiguous to anybody.
Well, initially, the store salesperson didn't remember the encounter. When the father, when I call him Vernal instead of Dior, it's Vernal Dior. Mm-hmm. When Vernal and his wife came back to the store several days later, then the salesperson says, "Oh, yeah, I remember you." Now, I'm not sure. I don't recall her saying specifically that she remembered the child. She remembered them talking about their child, mm-hmm. and they bought some candy and some other items, and we have a dated and time-stamped receipt. So we know they were in the store. And someone, while they were fueling up, said they thought they saw a child in the back seat. But that hasn't been ever positively stated that there was a child there. But, at this point, I'm believing the family.
Well, and the thing is, a busy day like that, camping, nobody's going to think, I better remember who's in the store. It just doesn't work like that.
Exactly. It's not uncommon. It's a small community, and the sales clerk said she was really busy, mm-hmm. and she was having difficulty remembering them being in the store. But when she saw him, she goes, "Oh, I remember talking to you."
To the parents, right. So, again, that's just something that's ambiguous, but not necessarily suspicious at all, just because it was a busy time. And I'm assuming there is no video?
Absolutely no video from the time they left Idaho Falls, where they fueled up and their vehicle is seen, and someone's seen them getting out of the driver's side to fuel up. But no child was ever seen, so we don't have any video.
We're talking with Sheriff Lynn Bowerman. Sheriff Bowerman is in charge in the investigation of missing toddler Dior Coons Jr., and we're talking about right before the call was made, basically, before the 911 call was made, that Dior was missing. So now we have the parents back at the campground with Dior after the visit to the store. Was Dior seen at that time after the store visit, do you know, by anybody in the campground?
Just the four people that were originally with him, and that's Grandpa's great-grandpa's friend, great-grandpa, and the two parents.
Right, okay. So from about 1 p.m., and this is, I'm not going to get very specific here because I know you can't go into detail, but from 1 p.m. till about when the phone call was made, about 45 minutes later, what you have to go on is what the parents, the great-grandfather and the grandfather's friend have said,
That's
right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. The family came back to the campground. The friend said he was catching some fish, and the parents said, "Well, can you show us the fish?" They start down to to the creek, which is about 50 feet below the campground. And it's not very well observed from the campground. In fact, you actually can't see the creek. You can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And they turned and looked at their son and asked him if he wanted to stay with Grandpa or go with them. And he said Grandpa, and started walking towards Grandpa. So Mom and Dad go down over the creek with the friend. They start doing some fishing. Grandpa says he's watching the child. He's looking at him momentarily. He looks away. When he looks back, the child is gone. He assumes that the child has gone back down to Mom and Dad because
Mm-hmm.
it's just over the hillside, just a little ways.
Right. And, boy, that's you and I both know, Sheriff Bowerman, that's all it takes is 1 second to look away. And
Exactly.
it becomes every parent's worst nightmare.
It does.
Sheriff Bowen, I know you're very busy, but I'm going to implore you, we have to take a quick break. I just have a few more questions for you. If we could come back, I'm going to talk just a little bit more about the case and a few other things. And I really want to get to your statement that you made about social media because I thought it was so right on. And I can't wait to hear that as well. So could you stay with us for just 2 minutes, and then we'll be right back.
I sure will.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. We'll be back in just a minute on True Crime Radio. This is the iHeartRadio Network, and we're open in chat. Talk in a bit. And welcome back to True Crime Radio. We're talking with Sheriff Lynn Bowerman. Sheriff Bowerman is in charge of the case of missing toddler Dior Coons Jr., who went missing while he was camping with his parents, his great-grandfather, and his great-grandfather's friend on July 10th at the Timber Creek Campground in Idaho. Sheriff Bowerman, is Dior's case creeping towards becoming a cold case?
Well, I mean, it's been exactly or just a little bit over 3 months. We're actively still working the case. We're almost up there almost every weekend. Anytime we get a tip, of course, we're working with other law enforcement agencies throughout the United States to make sure that we're following up on all those leads. And it's been a lengthy process, but I wouldn't say it's a cold case yet.
Well, that is very good to hear. Do you know if the FBI is completely finished, or do you still keep in contact with them?
No, we're still in contact with the FBI. I would actually say the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office in Idaho Falls probably has more contact with them because they're over in that part of the state, and they're keeping in real close contact.
Okay. You have said about the parents and all the adults, basically, that they're not suspects, but they're persons of interest, and that seems to be a little bit confusing. Can you explain that? I think I know what you mean, but I would like to hear it from you. They're not suspects. Do you suspect them of having anything to do with Dior's disappearance?
At this time, I don't consider them suspects. And the only reason why I'm calling them a person of interest is because they were at the scene. They're the only people at the scene other than one family that was at the Upper Lake that was from another county, and the law enforcement in that jurisdiction we've talked to has vouched for them, and they're an older couple, and we've been reassured by law enforcement that they would not be involved in any abduction or anything of that sort. So the 4 people that we have, the parents, the great-grandfather, and the grandfather's friend, are the only people we have. So they're a person of interest only because they were at the scene.
Understood. Okay. Are you able to comment on if anybody has taken a polygraph or not?
Well, I can tell you that all 4 people have taken polygraphs. I'm not willing to discuss the findings of those polygraphs at this point. We're having some, including the FBI, look at the results just to give us their impression, and those are difficult interviews, and the polygraph experts, sometimes they don't agree. So we're looking at those real close, and we're doing a behavioral analysis based on their statements at the time of their interview.
Okay, thank you. And I certainly understand why you can't comment, but I have to ask or people get mad at me. You know how that goes. Okay, Sheriff Bowerman, this is something I have not heard of, but in our chat room, one of our members brings it up. Steelman85901 asks to ask you about the EMT bag that was mentioned during the parents' interview and then never mentioned again. Do you know what that is about by chance?
No, I believe one of the volunteers was up in the area, and their vehicle was broke into, and it might have been left unlocked. But an EMT bag was taken from them while they were up doing the search, and
but it wasn't anything to do with.
We ever determined who took it or what the circumstances were surrounding that.
Right, and so there's no reason to even believe it had anything to do with Dior's case or his
not
missing.
At the time, no.
Okay, and you have searched at great length and great depth the reservoir and the stream, the creek.
Yes, we dove the reservoir at least 4 days. We put a side scan sonar in it on one day. We also flew a helicopter both in daylight and at night with the FLIR to illuminate for body heat, and we found absolutely nothing other than our canines alerted on it, but we found that someone had come in behind us and had put some human cremains in of a loved one, and that kind of threw our dogs off.
Oh, so like spreading the ashes of their loved one, and then the dog goes there and it's like, hey, there's human remains. Oh, boy, that must be frustrating.
Right. And then the creek from the campground down approximately 2 miles, we literally walked that, waded it in hip boots, and 20 or 30 people were removing every tree, limb, every branch. We had a device, a tubular device with plexiglass on it that we could actually look down into the water, and they reached under every embankment and literally tore that creek apart looking for Dior.
So it obviously, I think the first place everybody thinks is, oh my gosh, the poor kid fell in the water, was taken down, maybe stuck under a rock or something. But you feel confident that you have searched the creek and the reservoir enough that you feel confident you need to start looking elsewhere, continue to look elsewhere, right?
Exactly. We've had a total of, I believe, 18 dogs in there, and those dogs should have alerted, even after the fact, after the length of time that we've been looking, should alert, should that child be in there. But my 2 scent dogs that were in there initially, they should have found that child. They really should have.
And so are there any more plans to use the cadaver dogs or any search dogs at the moment?
I'm still getting calls from volunteers all over the United States offering to come in with their dogs. I'm not sure at this point we've covered every inch, literally 20 to 30 times. I'm not sure how productive that would be. So I've asked them to use their resources for something that is maybe a little bit more fresh as far as someone going missing. Keep their resources close for their own cases, and I feel like we've done an adequate and a complete search.
Well, that's true. Every day people go missing, and those search dogs are definitely needed all over the country.
Yes, they are.
I'm glad that we had a chance to talk, Sheriff, because I feel confident now that you have searched everywhere in the creek and the reservoir. That was my main concern. Now, before I let you go, because I'm so thrilled that you're here, you had a message, or you made a statement, let me say that, about social media. And I am obviously involved in social media. I have this podcast. I own websleuths.com. And the one thing we always tell people on WebSleuths is your words have power. If you come on and just start throwing stuff out there like it's a fact, you're going to mess everything up, and then rumors get started, and then it's a fact, and then everything is just a mess. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes law enforcement won't come and use what we have to offer. What did you tell that reporter about social media? It was just brilliant.
Well, there's been all sorts of conversations on both Facebook and Twitter and everything else, and it's getting to the point now where it's getting real confusing. It's not real constructive, and I would like to concentrate on facts, helping us look for some evidence or some clothing or a valid sighting on some family that has never had a 2.5-year-old, and then all of a sudden they have a 2.5-year-old in there and included in their family. But all the negativism and all the rumors have been really not very constructive, and have really kept my officers so busy chasing shadows, and has really complicated the investigation.
Sheriff Bowerman, I agree with you. And unfortunately, I think sometimes a few people just get carried away behind their keyboards, and they don't realize what they're saying and doing and how much it can cause a problem. So let's just stick with the facts. So when I go back to Web Sleuths, I can tell the people, these are the facts. We're not going to let you go off on wild and crazy tangents. No more. We're done. Fact of the matter is that you are relying on and you feel confident in the statements given by Dior's parents, the great-grandfather, and the friend. He could have been at the store that day, the little country store that day, but the woman's not sure because it was a busy day. You don't feel that's not indicative of something wrong. It was just a busy day and she's not going to remember people that come in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The people that saw Dior were the 4 adults, and again, you feel confident in what they are saying. You say they are not suspects, but everybody that was there is a person of interest because they may have something to offer, not necessarily because they're guilty of anything, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You did mention something earlier, and I want to clear this up. You said something about a family, an older family that...
Yes, there's the upper part of the reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
There was another family camped up there. They actually helped with the search on the first day and maybe even the second day. And they disappeared before we got a chance to interview them, but we were able to track them down. We talked to the law enforcement and their community, and they helped us track them down, and we chatted with them, and we don't feel like they were involved. It's an older couple, and they had some of their children come up, and we're fairly confident they never saw the Coons family, and we're fairly confident they had nothing to do with the disappearance.
Do you have any thoughts to a scenario where I can't imagine he was snatched by an animal since he was so close? I would think he would have screamed. People would have heard him. Are you thinking, again, maybe you can't even comment, that perhaps it was a stranger who grabbed him, or he ran off in the woods and you just haven't found him yet?
No, this is really rugged country, real steep on one side and then downhill and just a lot of rocky, rough terrain. You know, we've got wolves, we've got mountain lions, we have bears, we have wolves and bears in the campground on the first weekend of our search. We saw them both. So we've got a lot of dangerous animals in the area. But the clothing that he was wearing, I really think we would have found an article of clothing had an animal taken him. And so, you know, I'm perplexed right now. I'm struggling to figure this one out. But we're going to continue searching, and we're going to continue interviewing and looking for any evidence, and we're hoping for a break.
One more question, if I may, please, from our chat room. The parents have been criticized for not helping enough. Now, that could just be they're helping and not getting all the media attention. Do you feel the parents could do more, or are they still helping and cooperating? Is everything good as far as that goes?
Well, they're cooperating 100%. Anytime we've asked them to come in, we had them come in and do some sketches on a person that was seen at the store that they thought looked at Dior suspiciously. We had them come in and do some sketches on them, and we showed them around the community in Leadore and didn't come up with any positive ID. But anytime we've asked them, they've come in. They were up at the campground for quite a while during the initial search. We asked them not to assist in the actual search, and they stayed just outside the campground and had their friends come up and family members, and they did their own search outside the area we were searching in, and so yeah, they've been more than cooperative.
Okay, that's very good to hear, and I apologize. I didn't lie. I was mistaken. I have one more question. Sorry about that. Do you? Oh, now I forgot my question. I was all kerfluffled here. Good heavens sakes! Now I have totally forgotten the question. Hold on, I've got it right here. This is very professional. This is how you do professional radio. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I thought I had it in front of me, and I didn't. Sheriff Bowerman, thank you so much. Oh, I know what it was. What can we do? I know you said that we can, people can help by concentrating on the facts, but we have a large forum. We have over 87,000 members from all over the world. A lot of them reading Dior's thread and information. Mm-hmm. What advice could you give them that could help? We have 1 minute.
All right. Unfortunately, the child is a small, young child who looks like every other 2.5-year-old boy with blonde hair. So if you know the family, that you think you see a child that looks similar, and they didn't have a child before, then call my office. But if you see a child you think resembles him, call the local law enforcement and get them involved. They can contact me. They can get information from my office as far as height, weight, hair color,
right.
and everything that would, and including a birthmark that's seen on his neck. He has a distinct birthmark, and we put that out to the
Sheriff Bowerman, I apologize. My computer's going to cut me off. Thank you so much. And now that you have my number, don't hesitate to call if there's anything we can do for you. And you have cleared up a lot, and it's going to make a big difference. Take care, Sheriff Bowerman. Thank you so much. Okay, my true crime kidlets. We are back with more True Crime Radio. My name is Tricia Griffith. I am the proud owner of WebSleuths.com, and we are just speaking with Sheriff Lynn Bowerman about the missing Dior Coons Jr. case. And Sheriff Bowerman told my producer Dave that, hey, he would come back anytime. He enjoyed it, so I am thrilled to hear that. Because I'm glad he came on. He was able to really clear some things up for us. And if we have any more questions in a few weeks, sounds like he's willing to come back. Okay, let's go now to our good friend John Kelly. John, how are you?
Tricia, how are you?
I am great. Now, John, you are a criminal profiler extraordinaire. You're an addiction specialist, and you founded the website StockInc.com. I want to ask you about that first, and then we're going to get into Chris Mercer's mind. So tell me about Stock Inc.
Well, Stock Incorporated is something I founded about 20 years ago, and it stands for System to Apprehend Lethal Killers. It is made up of myself, 3 other psychologists, 2 of the greatest homicide detectives in the country, and we just have a wonderful, wonderful team that is very concerned and very caring. They're very caring people, and they want to. The whole focus right from the beginning was to help humanity. We worked for many, many years and still do for no pay at all. I mean, here and there we've been paid, but the vast majority of our work has been pro bono.
Well, that doesn't surprise me at all, because you are that kind of guy that wants to get out there and help the people that need your help, and that is what we're doing tonight. Is we're going to try and understand Chris Mercer's mind. Now, Chris Mercer killed 9 people and wounded 9 at a community college in Oregon. Again, another mass killer, a spree killer, I guess is what they're called now.
Well, you're right. You're right the first time. He is a mass murderer. There's mass murderers, there's spree killers, and there's serial killers. This guy fits perfectly what you said right off the hop. He's a mass murderer.
What's the difference between mass murderer and spree murderer?
Well, a spree killer usually is going to run the gamut. They're going to kill for maybe 3, 4 days, 5 days.
Oh, okay.
Do it all in one day.
Right.
But it's going to be separate situations usually. It's not going to be a mass of people. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have a spree killer come in and say, kill 5 people and then kill himself. Mm-hmm. You may have a spree killer come in and kill 5 people, but then he'll go on and kill some others. There has to be a spree, a trail of bodies over the course of some time. This guy is what we call a mass murderer. This is a very, very new and very scary phenomenon that we're seeing taking place all around the country. And, Tricia, I got to tell you, every day that goes by is a day we're getting closer to the next one.
And that's what's
so
frightening.
I don't want to alarm the audience, but this is the bottom line, and this has been going on quite a bit recently. In the last, I'd say, 5 years, we've seen this epidemic of mass murders taking place.
Why? Do you know why?
Did you say why?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Why? Why is it? Why now?
Well, you see, the thing of it is, I'm really believing that a lot of these guys, especially these newer guys, are looking for infamy. Mm-hmm. They feel, that they're coming from this dark, hopeless place. And when you talk about us looking into the mind, the Chris Mercer's mind, I mean, you have to understand that we're looking into extreme darkness that is just filled with rage, mm-hmm. volcanic rage, and depression and despair. I mean, he's never amounted to anything. He doesn't believe he's going to amount to anything. But there he is on social media, and there he is with a long-barreled rifle, and there he is posting that it seems when people go out and commit homicides that people really know who they are, and they get a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. And he even used the terminology, people like me. And he was referring to that anchor man on the news station that killed two of his colleagues. Mm-hmm. In front of the camera.
That was so horrific.
So I think a lot of these guys who feel they are going nowhere, not that that's true, but see, that's their dark perception of themselves. That's their dark perception of their future, mm-hmm. that they have nothing to live for, and they can't have a relationship. I mean, this goes on with just about all of these guys. They're having a problem having any kind of relationship, especially with a woman. So what goes on is they feel, I'm going to die anyway. At least I want to be known for something. And it seems people end up getting a certain amount of fame when they kill other people and spill other people's blood.
Exactly.
So then they go off and they commit these mass murders, these atrocities, mm-hmm. and they become infamous. And that's what he did.
That's what he wanted to do.
I mean, he's going to be known forever. He's going to be somewhere where people can read about him.
That's true. John, we're going to have to go to break here shortly, but we'll come back and talk some more.
Sure.
When we come back, we're going to talk about that, like how giving them publicity, is that the right thing to do, or should we just stop it altogether? Would that stop the shooter from picking up the gun and shooting again if he knew that you wouldn't get the attention that all the others have received? Now, we're going to talk about that. Also, the other common threads running through these shooters, that would be, I believe, mental illness, and I believe to some extent sexual abuse, the anger.
Yeah, there's a lot of abuse, and
right.
There's also we can't leave out access to weapons.
There you go. Oh, that was the next one. How easily they can pick up a gun. This guy had 13 guns. Okay. We got to go, John. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes, and we'll talk more with John Kelly about Chris Mercer and mass shootings. And then it's Bessie telling us about the latest cold case she'll be featuring, and it is a good one. If you like to sleuth, she has a case for you. All of that and more right after this on True Crime Radio on the iHeart Radio Network. And welcome back to our final segment of True Crime Radio on the iHeartRadio Network. My name is Tricia Griffith. We're talking with our good friend John Kelly. John Kelly is a criminal profiler, addiction specialist, and an all-around amazing guy. We're talking about Chris Mercer. He is the latest mass murderer who killed 9 people, injured 9 up in Oregon. And even Chris's father said the access to guns was the problem. Now, we could go on and on about that, John, but we know that is a continual argument. And we only have about 6 minutes to finish our discussion here. Let's talk about the fact if we were able to shut down the media right now, today, never to mention another mass killer's name, would they still pick up a gun and do it? They would do something else, I would guess.
Well, I don't know if the fame gain, I'm going to call it the fame gain. If the fame gain would be there, if we shut the media down entirely for them or on their act. However, these guys are filled with volcanic rage. They're simmering. They have an anger dam an anger river that has been dammed up, that is overflowing and getting ready to explode. That dam of rage breaks, and it becomes volcanic, and they're going to kill people. Mm-hmm. Now, it's a nice tidbit or prize, if you will, to have the media, going to make you infamous, for future generations. That's a nice, something to have on the side for this murderous act that you're planning. However, I do believe that the majority of these men, and they are usually men, 99% of the time, would commit a mass murder anyway, Tricia, to answer your question.
No matter if they got publicity or not, because they are so filled with rage. That's totally understandable.
I mean, the publicity is the fringe benefit. It's the icing on the cake.
And let's talk about that rage. Now, John Kelly, if we could tap into that rage and help that person that has that rage, we can prevent this. And I think it's about prevention. Gun
it's
control.
All about prevention.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I'm working kind of feverishly to try and get a profile of these different guys and the warning signs they exhibit before they act out. Our whole team is really looking at this very closely. And the one thing that we found that you might find interesting, there's a couple things I think you and your audience will find interesting. Number one, if you notice, these guys usually come from very small families where they may have one of the sibling, most of the time not, okay? They don't come from larger families where there's a bunch of siblings most of the time because, other kids would squeal on them.
Right.
Okay? So a lot of times these guys are just sneaking around. Number two, you have no connection, hardly any connection at all, with their biological father. Now, this is very interesting to me because this was a dynamic that we profiled in serial killers many years ago, that they did not have a good relationship with their biological father. And we're seeing that here as well when we start to profile these different mass murderers. So that's something they have in common with serial killers. The other thing is a person who's putting out information on their website that looks like they're going to hurt somebody, who looks depressed, who looks like they're threatening or making threats. I mean, even when this fellow was walking around his apartment complex, he was walking around in combat boots. He had a camouflage fatigues on, a white T-shirt, and he wore these exact same-looking clothes every single day. Okay? So that in itself does not make him a mass murderer. But there's a sign there. Somebody that's wearing combat fatigues and combat boots is looking combative. Do you follow me? So, I mean, that's just one little piece. Now, you start to add to that the isolation. You start to add to that the depression, the despair, the anger, and now you throw guns into the mix, okay, and then some violent video games and some paranoia because they said he was always looking over his shoulder when he was walking around the apartment. Now you're starting to get a brew. You're starting to get a mass murderer's brew.
Oh, that is what is so frightening. John, we only have a couple of minutes left. Real briefly, how do we – I guess what you're saying is we need to watch out. We need to watch out for each other and report symptoms if you see this in somebody. Is that what you're saying?
If you're seeing this in someone and you know that person has access to guns, and a lot of these guys will tip you off. You know, a lot of these guys talk about, you know, wanting to kill a bunch of people. And if you can pick up on that earlier, make a phone call. Call law enforcement. What do you have to lose? They're either going to, you know, be looking at somebody that's ready to go, or they're going to be looking at somebody that's just making a statement and they're innocent. But most importantly, at least you're making some kind of an attempt to get this person help and to stop them before they go on, you know, a murderous rampage.
Exactly.
Now, this is not easily defined. Lots of times the signs are not visible, you know, even to professionals. But you know, we're starting to build more and more of a profile on these guys. One thing they all have in common, it seems, along with the guns, is this desire for fame. You know, they want to go out in infamy.
John, I apologize. I'm going to have to stop our interview right now. I need to get Bessie on here to talk about her cold case. But I'm going to have you back because I'm telling you, John, I could get 5 hours on iHeart and still not have it be long enough to talk to you. So, John Kelly, you'll come back real soon, right?
Thank you so much, Holly. I thank you and thank the audience. And sure, anytime you want me, just call.
Okay, and don't forget John's website, stockinc.com. John, thank you so much. Take care now.
Thanks. Have a great evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, up next, we are going to go to Bessie, our administrator, and Bessie is going to talk about a cold case in our segment called The Next Step. And this is a fascinating cold case. And, Bessie, you're with us, right?
I'm here, Tricia.
All right.
How are you?
I am great. We have about 6 minutes, and so why don't we just jump right into our latest cold case? Who is this about?
All right. This is a little, different than what I normally do. This is a case that's getting a lot of publicity right now. There's a big media push to solve this case. This is a young woman who was found near Baltimore. In September 1976, young woman in her late teens, early 20s. She was on the side of the road, Dogwood Road, near Lorraine Park Cemetery. I have no idea where that is, but it's near Baltimore, in the Baltimore area.
Okay.
Her hands were tied behind her back. She had 3 bandanas over her face. And I've read that one was actually a feed bag, and then 2 bandanas over that. One had eyes, like holes cut out for the eyes and the nose. Sounds really bizarre. She had been strangled and raped, and just left on the side of the road. She had a couple of keys in her pockets. They've been able to, trace the manufacturer of those keys to Massachusetts. One looked like a house key, which makes you think she lived somewhere in Massachusetts. She had an apartment or somewhere that she was staying. And everything, that they found on her, she had a rawhide string necklace with a turquoise bead. And from pollen, they've been able to trace the pollen to like the upstate New York or Boston area. So this is a 40-year-old cold case of an unidentified woman. There are, post-mortem pictures. There are really good sketches. It just seems really, like this is a case that should be solved if somebody knows about her. And maybe somebody has been looking for her and they just haven't been looking in the right place. So I just thought it was a really interesting one, and one that seems like it can be solved, and some, it's worthy of mention. And if anybody wants to read more about it, I mean, just Google Woodlawn Jane Doe. There's a lot of media coverage right now. We have a thread on it, of course.
And how are the Web Sleuth members dealing with the case? Are they digging in? Are they onto it, or is it just kind of floating because nobody knows where to go?
They have worked it pretty well, and there's just so many rule outs now. I think I know there are more than 10 on NamUs that have been ruled out. I think the key to this is just getting that word out, because someone has probably looked for this person, and she may have lived in Massachusetts for a while, but maybe her family was in Kansas or Oklahoma, and then she lived in Massachusetts for a while, but then her body ends up in Maryland.
Yeah, go
figure.
So
it makes it harder. It just becomes more complicated.
Forgive me.
Getting her picture out there and getting people talking about it, I think, is the key to solving this.
Absolutely. And forgive me if you said this in your description, but are they assuming that maybe she was a hitchhiker, or that they just don't have any idea?
I haven't read that, but that would be my guess, is that she may have been a hitchhiker, and, she was in Massachusetts, maybe just hitching a ride a few miles off somewhere, and was picked up by the wrong person and ended up being dumped.
Well, especially in
Maryland.
1975, I was 15. I was hitchhiking. I mean, it terrifies me today.
Right.
If I ever see anybody hitchhiking, I want to kill them myself, because I'm like, you idiot, you're going to be killed.
Exactly.
So
we
only have about.
It was very common back then.
It was very common. Girls, boys, men, women. That's just how you got around. You hitchhiked. We have about 90 seconds left, Bessie. So I want to thank you for coming on. Now, do you have any phone number or any contact information? Here's the thing: somebody might know something and they don't realize they know it. That's what's frustrating. So if go ahead.
Let's see what I have here. Callers may remain anonymous. Contact Metro Crime Stoppers, 1-8667-LOCK-UP. That's what I have
1-8667-LOCK-UP. And if you think you know something, it could actually be the key to solving this case. And again, that is what's so frustrating. There's somebody out there that has information that has no idea they have information. And like you said, I'm sure this person's family that has been looking for her everywhere. And they need to know where she is and what happened. So, Bessie, thank you so much. We're going to have you on again next week, of course, for the next step. And if you have a suggestion for the next step, you can just give us your suggestions. Go to websleuth.com and click on the Contact Us link and email us your suggestions. I'm sure Bessie would love to get a look at them and to hear your ideas. Right, Bessie?
Sure would. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Hey, thank you, everybody, for joining us in chat. Dave in chat, thank you so much. Dave, producer, thank you. And thanks to Sheriff Bowerman, to John Kelly, and to Bessie for joining us. Next week, it is going to be a wild show. I have no idea what it's going to be about, but trust me, I'll make it wild. True Crime Radio on the iHeart Radio Network. Always go to truecrimeradio.com for the info. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Bye-bye.